I met Lena on a Friday night at a small house gathering. She wasn't loud or flashy, just sitting quietly near the window with a drink. She smiled when I asked if the seat next to her was taken. Her voice was soft, like she was afraid to interrupt the noise around us. We talked about simple things: music, travel, favorite coffee shops. There was something peaceful about her, something steady but distant. She said she liked people who lived intentionally, not just rushed through life. I told her I ran a small contracting business, and she said she admired discipline. It felt easy, effortless, like we'd known each other longer than we had. She gave me her number before she left, written on a napkin in small, neat letters. We started texting that night and never really stopped. Within a week, we were meeting for late dinners after my shifts. She'd show up in oversized sweaters, hair tied back, journal in hand. She said she liked quiet places, so we'd sit in my truck and talk for hours. No games, no pressure, just connection. I thought she was different. She told me she wasn't looking for anything serious, but I could tell she cared. When she finally stayed over, it felt right, like we'd found a rhythm. I liked that she didn't need much. She didn't complain when I worked long hours or forgot to text right away. She said she liked men who were grounded, consistent, reliable. That word stuck with me, reliable. It sounded like a compliment back then. A few months in, we were inseparable. She brought art into my life, little sketches and thrift store candles. She made my apartment feel alive. We started spending every weekend together, cooking, watching movies, doing laundry. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt like home. Then her lease ended, and she started joking about how much we'd save living together. I thought she was half serious, but the jokes kept coming. She'd leave her stuff at my place, her books, her shoes, her toothbrush. One night, she said her apartment was too noisy, too small, too temporary. She looked at me and smiled like she already knew my answer. I said we could find a new place, something bigger, cleaner, closer to work. She lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. We toured apartments together, and she picked the one with the big windows. I paid for everything: the deposit, the furniture, the move-in fees. She said she'd handle groceries and Wi-Fi, and that sounded fair enough. Moving in felt like a step forward, something real. The first few weeks were perfect. She'd make breakfast on Sundays and fill the place with her scent. We'd fall asleep to old movies, legs tangled under one blanket. I didn't notice how fast things were changing. How her laughter faded, just a little each day. How her eyes started wandering past me when I talked. Back then, I thought I was building a future. I didn't know I was just furnishing my own heartbreak. The first few months felt calm, almost peaceful. Lena was still sweet, still kind, still the girl who made coffee in silence. But slowly, I started noticing little things that didn't fit. Her phone was always face down now, always on silent. She started taking it to the bathroom, even when she showered. At first, I told myself not to overthink it. Everyone deserves privacy, right? But privacy became distance. She stopped sitting next to me on the couch. She said she needed more time for herself, more space to recharge. At night, she'd sit on the balcony for hours with her headphones in. When I asked what she was listening to, she said old playlists. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes anymore. She said she was feeling nostalgic, revisiting old memories. I didn't know those memories had names and phone numbers. Dinner got quieter. She'd scroll while I talked. I'd ask about her day, and she'd say fine without looking up. She used to leave little notes for me in the kitchen. Now the only notes were grocery lists. When I reached for her hand, she'd flinch like she forgot what we were. I tried harder. I cooked her favorite meals, cleaned more, gave her time. She said I was being too nice, like that was a flaw. I started to feel like a guest in my own home. She filled the space with her candles, her journals, her silence. And I was just another piece of furniture she'd grown tired of. One night, I caught her laughing on the phone, real laughter, not the one she gave me. I asked who she was talking to. She said, just an old friend. That phrase hit harder than it should have. Old friend. It sounded innocent, but her tone was. After that, she started mentioning healing and processing emotions. She said she needed to reconnect with her past to move forward. I didn't understand what that meant until later. She'd stay up writing for hours, filling journals like she was preparing a story. I asked if she wanted to talk about it, but she said no. She said she was working on herself. Meanwhile, I was losing myself trying to keep her close. I remember one night she fell asleep on the couch, phone still unlocked. A message popped up from someone named Ryan. The preview read, "Miss you too." I stared at it for a long time. I didn't open it. I just turned off the phone and sat there in the dark. That was the first night I couldn't sleep. I kept telling myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe I was just tired. But deep down, I knew the truth was already growing between us. She wasn't with me anymore, not really. She was somewhere else. With someone else. And I was just the man still paying rent on her memories. It happened on a Thursday night, when I came home early from work. The lights were low, and I could hear her voice from the balcony. She was giggling, soft and playful, the way she used to sound with me. I froze in the hallway, just listening. Her words drifted through the open door like poison. He's stable, clean, routine, like dad energy but hot. She laughed again, a real laugh, not the polite one she gave me lately. My stomach dropped. She wasn't talking to a friend. She was talking about me to someone else. And whoever that someone was, he wasn't just a name in her phone. When she came inside, I pretended I hadn't heard anything. She kissed my cheek and asked about my day like nothing happened. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, feeling stupid and small. It wasn't anger. It was disbelief. I kept asking myself when I stopped being enough. A few days later, she brought it up casually while we were eating dinner. She said her ex, Ryan, was having a rough time. His lease had ended, and he needed a place to stay temporarily. I thought she was joking. I laughed. But she didn't. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I'm serious, Ethan. It's just for a while." I put my fork down and asked if she was out of her mind. She said I was being dramatic, that it wasn't a big deal. "It's not like he's sleeping in our bed," she said with a straight face. I couldn't even find words. Every part of me went numb. She said she didn't want to be heartless, that Ryan had no support system. She kept using words like compassion and maturity, like betrayal was charity. I asked if she even heard herself. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're being controlling again." That was her favorite trick, flipping the blame before I could react. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just nodded and said, "Do whatever you think is right." That night, she slept peacefully beside me while I lay awake, broken. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. Made coffee. Played her favorite playlist. Smiled at me like we were fine. Later that week, I came home and found her journal open on the bed. She never left it out. A pen was resting across the page, like she'd been interrupted. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Every line confirmed what I already feared. She'd been talking to Ryan for months. She wrote about how she missed him, how I was too calm, too predictable. She said she thought she could convince me to let him move in. That I'd agree if she framed it right. She called me safe. That word felt like a slap. I closed the book and sat there for a long time, holding my breath. The apartment suddenly felt smaller, colder, unfamiliar. That was the moment I stopped hoping things would get better. Because now, I knew exactly who she really was. After reading that journal, something inside me went completely still. No shouting, no breaking things, no begging for an explanation. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that means you're done. I went through the motions that night, brushing my teeth, turning off the lights. She came home late and didn't even notice the change in me. She kissed my cheek like we were still us. But we were. I slept next to her and planned my exit in my head. By morning, the decision was clear. I wasn't going to fight for someone who had already left me. I wasn't going to give her the drama she wanted. I checked the lease online during lunch. Only my name was on it. Every bill, every payment, every deposit, all mine. That was all I needed to know. I called the leasing office, asked what it would take to terminate. They said 30 days, or a 1-month payout. I said I'd pay both. Money meant nothing compared to peace. That night, she told me she was going to her cousin for a weekend girls' trip. I smiled and said, "You deserve a break." Inside, I was already gone. The next 2 days, I packed the essentials quietly after she fell asleep. Documents, tools, clothes, my laptop, and photos I wanted to keep. Everything else could stay. On Saturday morning, my friend Mark showed up with his truck. He didn't ask questions, just helped me load boxes. We worked fast, no talking, no hesitation. By noon, the apartment was almost empty. The couch, the bed, the TV, the cookware, all mine, all gone. I even took my shower curtain. She could have the walls, the candles, the lies. I left her a note on the kitchen counter, next to the lease termination papers. It said, "You wanted space, now you have the whole place." I took one last look around. The air smelled like her perfume and dust. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the journal. The messages. The way she looked me in the eye and lied without blinking. And I walked out without locking the door behind me. That night, I stayed at a small condo a friend rented me. It was quiet, almost too quiet. But the silence felt like freedom. I ordered takeout and watched the boxes pile up around me. It didn't feel like loss. It felt like breathing again. Later that evening, I turned off my location, deleted her number, blocked her everywhere. When my phone buzzed, I didn't check it. I already knew what it was. Excuses. Tears. Maybe anger. None of it mattered. By the time she came back to that empty apartment, I was already gone. And for the first time in months, I actually slept through the night. When Lena came back that Sunday night, the apartment was empty. No couch, no bed, no TV, no dishes in the sink. Just walls and silence. She texted me almost immediately. "Ethan, where are you? Did you move something?" Then another. "Why didn't you tell me? This is cruel." I didn't answer. I let the read receipt do the talking. By morning, she sent a long paragraph about how I'd overreacted. She said I was heartless, immature, controlling. The same words she used to end every argument she couldn't win. I turned off my phone and went back to unpacking. A few days later, the leasing office emailed me. They said Lena had tried to take over the lease, but didn't qualify. Her credit was bad, her income too low. They gave her 2 weeks to vacate or pay in full. She had neither. Meanwhile, she tried to reach me through mutual friends. They messaged me saying I should be the bigger person. They said she was struggling, that she needed help. I ignored them all. I'd helped her enough. That week, I got a call from Mark. He'd done a little digging into Ryan, the ex she'd risked everything for. Turns out Ryan wasn't single. He was married, living in another state with his wife. Not only that, he wasn't in the military like Lena said. He worked part-time and was basically broke. Mark found photos of him online, smiling at a barbecue with his wife and dog. 3 months old. Lena had thrown away stability for a fantasy. When Ryan showed up at her place, he expected comfort, a setup. But what he found was an empty apartment, no power, no Wi-Fi, no furniture. He stayed one night. The next morning, he was gone, and so were a few of her things. The iPad I bought her. A gold bracelet she always wore. And her company laptop. She tried calling him, but he'd blocked her. That was when everything crashed for her at once. She got fired for not returning the laptop. She couldn't pay rent, and the landlord called the police to evict her. She ended up moving back to her mom's house an hour away. I heard through friends that she cried for weeks, saying she didn't deserve this. But she did. Every bit of it. She built her own collapse one lie at a time. Online, she started posting quotes about healing and self-growth. Photos of candles, sunsets, and captions about learning to trust again. She turned off the comments when people started asking questions. Behind the scenes, she was messaging people for help, begging for a spare room. I didn't respond when she texted again. "I just want to explain," she wrote. But I didn't need an explanation. I'd already lived through the truth. And she was finally living through the consequences. For the first time, everything was quiet. No noise, no lies, no half-love. Just peace, the kind I'd built for myself. A few weeks passed, and I thought the story was over. Lena was gone, Ryan was gone, and my life was finally calm again. But peace never lasts long when someone like her still knows your name. One night, I got an alert from my bank about a suspicious credit application. It wasn't mine, but it used my full name and partial address. The location matched our old apartment. My stomach sank. I knew it was her. She still had copies of my ID from the lease and old utility bills. I froze my accounts, filed a fraud alert, and started keeping records. Emails, screenshots, IP traces, everything. I didn't confront her. I wanted evidence, not another argument. 2 days later, she emailed me. The subject line said, "I need to explain." It started with fake remorse and soft words. She said she missed the way we used to talk, that she was trying to rebuild. Then came the manipulation. She said she needed a little financial help to start over. That she knew I was kind enough to understand. I printed the email and added it to my growing folder of proof. No response, no emotion, just documentation. A week later, I called the county fraud division and gave them everything. The credit attempt, the IP address, her eviction details, and the email chain. The investigator confirmed what I already knew. The application came from the same device used in our old apartment. They opened a case and mailed her a formal notice. I didn't celebrate. It didn't feel like revenge. It just felt necessary, like locking a door after someone breaks in. She tried one last time after that. Her final email wasn't an apology anymore. It was an attack. She said I was weak, that I ran away instead of fighting for us. She called me insecure, accused me of being afraid of real emotion. Said a real man would have stayed and worked through it. I replied once. Just once. I told her she was disgusting for flipping the blame. I told her she used me, lied to me, and tried to ruin me when it was over. Then I blocked her again. That was the last time I ever heard from her. Around that same time, Mark messaged me with an update. He'd reached out to Ryan's wife, using proof from Lena's journal and texts. She thanked him for telling her. A month later, she divorced Ryan and took everything: the house, the car, the money. He was left with nothing but regret and a duffel bag. It wasn't revenge. It was balance. Meanwhile, Lena was back online pretending to be the victim, posting quotes about forgiveness while living at her mom's house. Her friends stopped liking her posts. People stopped believing her stories. And me. I woke up every morning in peace, coffee in hand, no guilt, no noise. Sometimes, silence is the only justice you need. And walking away is the loudest answer of all. Months passed, and life finally felt normal again. No messages, no drama, no traces of her left anywhere. I woke up early, drank my coffee, and worked in silence. The peace felt foreign at first, almost too quiet to trust. But over time, it started to feel like home. I stopped checking my phone, stopped wondering what she was doing. Her name became just a memory. I no longer cared to revisit. People still asked what happened between us. I just said, she taught me everything I needed to know. I didn't mean it as bitterness. I meant it as truth. Some people exist only to show you who not to become. And some endings are blessings in disguise. I never got closure from her, but I didn't need it. Her silence was enough. Her downfall spoke louder than any apology could. I built a new life, small but steady, honest but quiet. No lies, no manipulation, no half-truths. Just peace, finally earned. And every time I close my eyes at night, I remember one thing. Walking away wasn't losing her. It was finding myself again.